All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. Say welcome, welcome. Yes, we started the show last week. Yes, I'm saying Happy New Year to those who are just, watching me for the first time this new year. But they said leadership is not about titles and, of course, will I say status, because it's about the impact that you have on the people around you. And I must say that credentials and experience are very important. I must emphasize on this platform, but it's integrity and truly defines a leader or a leader. And a leader with integrity, inspires trust and respect, and of course has the ability to bring out the best in others, especially when it comes to the followers and the citizens. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Lomatonda. Yes, quite a number of people have been asking me when I haven't changed your name. Can you guys relax? So, guys, let me just dive straight to the topic at all, to, should I say, to on this industry segment, because on this platform, on this industry segment reminds us of the past. And as at today, I think today's episode or today's content on this history segment is reminding us, or is woven around $1 to 896 naira, a point of reflection on our economy today and of course our financial circumstances. And I must say that it's important for us to quickly listen to the video. Stay with us. I'll be right back.
On this day, exactly 2 years ago, in 2021, the Naira reached a historical exchange rate of $1 to 396 Naira 70 kobo. As at today, it's hovering around $1 to 896 Nigerian Naira, a point of reflection on our economic and financial circumstances.
Guys, coming back now to actually debate on this, it's truly unacceptable truth if you ask me, but I feel that it might get worse. I just like to keep it real on this platform. It might get worse with our current circumstances of no reserves, with the high depth of profile, and of course the falling source of revenue. I can keep going on and on, but the harsh truth is that Nigerians should brace up. Yes, brace up. I know that we are a country where religion has taken the center stage of hope, but we need to be realistic, and we all need to expect to actually manage our finances. We are looking for miracles all over the place, which is part of our culture. But with what our On This Day history segment is reminding us, I think that I would like those who are watching me right now to understand that it has gotten worse, even under the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, who everybody had hope. Everybody felt that the economy would get better. Guys, this is not the time for me to start gaslighting anybody. I think it's important for me to get a quick message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. And of course, the 2023 Nigerian presidential election will be held on the 25th of February 2023, to be precise, in terms of us electing the president and of course the vice president of Nigeria. The incumbent APC president Muhammadu Buhari is limited, yes, and of course cannot seek re-election for a third term. And the experience of Nigerians in the last 8 years has led them into seeking a candidate who is capable, who is credible, to lead Nigeria out of the economic and of course the financial woes that we are currently experiencing right now. And I must say that recently the former president Obasanjo, while endorsing his candidate, spoke about the character. I think power of character is something I've emphasized so much on this platform, and of course integrity, credibility, will I say the physical ability of next president to lead Nigeria after next month, is important. In as much as I really don't like to really channel energy on fitness when it comes to the presidential candidate, because somebody who, as far as I'm concerned, somebody who is strong, might end up even falling down tomorrow, and it ends there. So it's about credibility for me. And speaking about integrity as well, well, and capacity and credibility and all of that. I feel that I have a man who has all of the skills, yes, and is joining us in the next 1 minute, will I say few seconds. His name is Omoyele Sowore. He's a leading voice in the political world, and of course, his candidate is also a candidate himself in the upcoming election. We will be discussing the importance of character in leadership. The power of character for me is key. I've emphasized on that a lot, and of course, will I say that we'll be examining the backgrounds, yes, of the various candidates, vying for this position, this presidency as well. Guys, let me hold my breath. Let's get a quick video of his profile. Stay with me. We'll be right back. All right, welcome to the show, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Many thanks for creating time to be on the show today. Let me start by saying, how you doing? Where were you coming from today? Because I realized that you had different engagements. Well done.
Yes, I'm coming from the Apostolic Roundtable,
Okay.
somewhere in Lekki today. So it's been an amazing time out there with Dr. Bolaji Akinyemi, who put together this gathering. It's amazing, where we met with some members of the Christian community to discuss our agenda for Nigeria in 2023.
Talking about Christian community, I think, I will touch on it, in terms of how the religious, community as well have taken the center stage when it comes to spreading the word. But,
Absolutely.
Let me start by opening the show with the budget. I feel that the budget for this, will I say, fiscal year 2023, the subject to approval was just read last week. We all saw it on socials, indicating that the debt of 77 trillion naira, is what whoever that will be coming in will take on. So if you are coming in by May, so to speak, Omoyele Sowore, regarding the upcoming election on the 25th of February, I want you to please help us, digest what you'll be doing with the volume of debt and the amount of work that will be expected of you, knowing that, the office of the presidency will first of all have to look for how to strategize regarding these debts that we have in our neck.
I think I've spoken about the budget before, and there are components of it that's not totally in tandem with the budgetary processes and laws of country as it stands today. But having said that, because that's not the argument today, the argument today is how to deal with debt overhang. The problem in Nigeria is not the debt to GDP ratio. Apparently, we are not doing too badly in that sector. But our problem is debt to revenue. That is the amount of revenue that goes into servicing debt. And it looks like it's unprecedented, which meant that we have borrowed too much. And considering that we are not borrowing for production, we are borrowing for consumption, we are borrowing to pay salaries. Those are not the kind of things you borrow for. And I've been quoted elsewhere saying that the current regime has borrowed Nigeria back to the Stone Age in terms of the debt overhang. But here is the good news. Coming in as a credible candidate and president of Nigeria on May 29, 2023, you can completely talk to partners, if they call themselves development partners.
Okay.
Yes, I want to believe they are development partners. That we want to pause repayment of debt for now and use what ought to have been used for paying debt for a few years to engage in capital development of the country. So you look at the debt servicing and the capital, the capital part of the budget is almost the same, about 6.2 trillion, 6 point something trillion each. So that means we have just not enough to do anything. Everything is going. So assuming we can combine debt servicing, which is 6 point something trillion, to the capital sector of the budget, the capital budget, you will discover that we can do a lot more. And we should be able to ask that question, and we should be able to make that request that we want to pause repayment. This happened to Greece before, it happened to Argentina, it happened to Turkey at a point where they said, look, we can't just carry the debt burden further because it won't let us develop. And that's how Turkey became the place to go to in Europe, anywhere else before you travel anywhere else. They developed their country. But all of this needs sincere leadership, because if they pause debt repayment for you, they give you more debt under simpler terms or lower interest rates, and you are still binging on your irresponsible ways of doing things, you are not going to get very far before your country's economy collapses entirely.
All right, many thanks for this submission. I like the angle where you're talking about sincere leadership, and I want to concentrate on power of character, because talking about character for me is key. I was under the wings of Dr. late Miles Moron, and one of the books that he published was The Power of Character, especially when it comes to our leaders as individuals, are the foundation from where we are coming from, which I feel that it tilts towards integrity, it tilts towards credibility of the candidate that we should put in the corridor of power in terms of presidency come 2023. So I would like to refer to one of your statements, regarding the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, in terms of endorsement as one of the failure, you said.
Yes.
And I'm not campaigning for anyone on this platform, but I know Peter Obi has a track record. I stand to be corrected, because there are different reactions to it. A track record of, what he has done when he was in the corridor of power as a governor, in terms of the traits, the access, and of course, will I say measure to his performance, so to speak. So, coming back to you, I feel that, many people may say that, oh, you've not assumed any public office before, and can they measure the standards of your performance of governance is what people are asking, if we are paying attention clearly. So how do we juxtapose this comparison and making people understand that you don't have to get to the corridor of power to have the leadership skill to change the situation that we are in our country today?
I'm glad that you mentioned Miles Monroe in your opening statement question. That I don't know, he led a church, right? And I don't even know the size of his church, but he had such an impact on people who want to be motivated that they don't ask the size
also the
of
business front.
or the business community. He's had such powerful words to deliver from he motivates people. I didn't know him close to the time he died. But what I'm saying is that leadership has nothing to do with spending public money. It has nothing to do with putting bogies together and claiming that, oh, this is my achievement and things like that. That's why you find countries when they are in need of leaders, maybe it's wartime or crisis time, they reach deep inside and look for the person with the best character amongst them, not the former leader. Otherwise, no country would have had more than one leader in their lifetime, because a leader can always claim that, oh, I did so well, but you look at it also from the analogy of football, right? There's a guy named Olusegun Odegbami, right? You can imagine sending him to the World Cup in 2022 as part of the Nigerian contingent. Would it make sense? No, not even as a coach at his age. It would be or probably maybe he would do well as a coach. So if any kind of leadership cannot produce brand new leaders that can take over and move from where they stop, then there's a problem with that kind of leadership. If you've been a leader of Nigeria in 1984, and Nigeria is still in need of your leadership in 2023, then the country hasn't moved beyond the 1984 ideas, and that's why we're stuck where we are. I don't want to, again, talk about Peter Obi too much, but I would like to say, when you say, oh, he has, you have evidence, we don't see the evidence of his leadership in Anambra State. As of today, I've been looking for a road that he constructed and that is still there, none. But I can find a road called Motorway in Ghana that Kwame Nkrumah constructed just outside of Accra is still there, intact. And you should Google and find out about this. So, or schools that were built that we say, well, they're doing so well these days. You know, there's a healthcare program in the U.S. called Obamacare. To today, it's still in existence. Even
Well,
after
some people still have different reactions. So I don't want to.
Right, I don't. The reason I'm reacting that way is not because I'm contesting. Even if I wasn't contesting, I would still be critical of anybody who presents himself or herself as a future leader for this country. Because for me, leadership is everything, right? And I mean it personally, because a leader in this country sent me to jail in the 90s when I was a student activist asking for democracy. Those kind of leaders are still around to send me to jail in 2019 asking for the same democracy. So those of us who are always in trouble from bad leaders, we have more passion sometimes. We are more interested in seeing that this kind of leadership don't return to the political scene in Nigeria. Because when they're looking for people to get in trouble, we get in trouble first.
As an activist.
As an activist. Because we continuously challenge terrible leaders. But we did it up to the point where when I decided that it's not enough to just say leaders are bad. If you have the characteristics of a good leader, you are convinced and you have conviction, and you have the exposure, you have the capacity in your view, and you convince people, why don't you get in there instead of just being a perpetual activist? That's what got me into contesting for presidency 2019 and now.
So, listening to all that you've shared thus far, there are different reactions to this, if you ask me, in the sense that, yes, I understand that since 1984, someone who had been in the corridor of power should not still be relevant in terms of, wanting to endorse somebody, and all of that. But I feel that the experiences of the old, we need it in terms of how to navigate the challenges that we found ourselves today. So if tomorrow, let's say, for instance, if Obasanjo or any other ex-president, so to speak, had backed your candidacy, some people could have said, oh, it's an endorsement for failure, knowing that you don't have the know-how on how to navigate the corridor of power because you've not experienced it. Some people can also come from the angle of, oh, this person have been to jail. People react to all sorts of things. That's what our leaders, so to speak. All
I
of them have
completely
been
understand, but what is not going to happen in my own case is you're not going to find a former Nigerian leader endorse me for office. It'll be hard because when they were actively in government, I made life hellish for them because they failed. And that's why I specifically use the word failure in terms of this particular endorsement. So let me tell you, if you did well as a former leader and you have created successive leadership that made the country work, you won't need to be hustling. I want to use the word hustling for endorsement. You won't need to be the DG to candidate in 2023 when you have been coming since 1979. But let's look at your record. In 1979, what did you do? You failed the country in terms of leadership choice. 1993, you failed the country in terms of leadership choice. In 1999, when you became the leader, you failed the country again. When you had to make a choice in 2007 after your third term failed, you chose a dead man, practically a dead man, to lead the country that you knew was very volatile. The choice of Yar'Adua and their refusal to admit that he was dead almost destroyed Nigeria. So, and after Yar'Adua, you chose somebody who you had to write a letter a few months later that is corrupt. So, how do you consistently trust the character of a man who has never made the right choice?
When you talk about the consistency of the character of the men, so to speak, some may want to also discredit the integrity, or will I say the credibility of both the APC and the PDP right now, because they are the candidates in persons of Alhaji Atiku and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But it still remains that they have done a thing or two. Mr. Omoyele, Sowore, let's be frank here, especially when it comes to their previous spell of governments, whether they failed, whether they did not do well or not, in terms of all the things they have done in the corridor of power. But Nigeria is much, to be realistic on this platform, we are more attuned to them when it comes to other parties, so to speak. When you hear even most people in the on the streets of Nigeria, people only think that it's only APC and PDP that is relevant right now. So what's your party doing right now, to win the Nigerian crowd from these two parties, I don't want to use the wrong word to describe them.
They are
parties
political
right
parties,
now. Yeah.
you know, in the sense that they are registered political parties. But if you look at the real definition of political parties, these guys don't even meet the definition of parties. But let's assume they are parties. I agree with you that both parties have failed. The thing that people are also not talking about is that the so-called third party that people talk so much about are also an overflow of these other two parties. So Atiku was in APC and he's in PDP now. Nigeria is the only country where people can go to bed in one political party. By the time they're going to bed, they're in APC. By the time they wake up, they're in Labour Party.
There's no ideology guiding them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. It's like we don't need to argue too much about it. We look at their records. I don't care what people say that maybe they've done one thing or the other. What ought to have been done is to make this country work, make it function, and make it competitive. And it's not doing any of those things. Those were the things they promised in their manifestos when they came in 1999. Obasanjo, Atiku, and Asiwaju, who was the Lagos State governor. And most people believe that Lagos economy is bigger than a lot of West African countries or African countries. But what did he do with the economy? You know, he created a Lagos in which every funnel of the economic development in Lagos go into your back pocket. That is not the kind of leaders that makes countries work. And we are saying that people have a right, and we are encouraging them to reject this kind of backward leadership. So your last question is what we are doing. We are all out there moving mountains. We have structures. You know, our structures are so strong. As of 2019, after the election, we are the same people that called out people for Revolution Now protest that led to my arrest and detention. We operated in over 26 states on that day alone, August 5. And the federal government can testify to. They deployed gunboats, police, army, navy. So structures that can take the bullet are not weak structures. What we have not had, which I will admit, is that because we have not been involved in and engaged in corruption, we don't have deep pockets that can bring out people to attend big rallies, even though they know that the rallies don't.
So are you saying those rallies are staged?
They are transactional rallies. When you weaponize poverty, you can get anybody, for that matter, to attend your rally. When I say anybody, except the few very rich ones. But I have also said it publicly, and this is empirical evidence that I gathered as a political participant in the current dispensation and the last one, that I've been to a place before where APC finished rally, people stayed at the stadium in Akwa Ibom State specifically and waited for the PDP rally the next day. When they saw us and heard we were in town, they came to us and said, do you want us to bring people to your rally? It's 10 million naira. Give us your t-shirts. We'll be at your own the third day. And I was shocked.
Imagine what the kind of country and the kind of citizens we have when it comes to stomach infrastructure.
Yes.
But staying away from that, I like the angle in one of your submission earlier where you're talking about investments. I want to touch about the human capital right now because, according to you, I want to quote you because you said technology is the most lucrative industry
right
today
now.
in Nigeria in terms of human capital.
In the world.
Yeah. And you further stated that, investing is a petrochemical
fossil fuel,
companies, which I feel, or will pollute the environment and eventually dry us up, in terms of how Nigerians can stop voting for analog brains, so to speak. So the truth is that technology needs huge ICT. Omoyele Sowore, we need to be transparent. And when it comes to database management and the likes and all of that, I'm not so savvy when it comes to that. But at least I've read quite a number of things when it comes to technology. Knowing that technology have taken the center stage of our lives today. So now a country like Nigeria, serving debt with around, I think, 10 to 78 trillion, so to speak. Where do you want to get money, finances, revenues to invest in the whole scale of technology development in this country? I think it's important for you to lay it out.
It is not that we need technology. It's a must. I'm just coming from the Apostolic Roundtable, where I said, and I will repeat it here, the technology is so important as a bedrock of the future that a Lagos traffic of today will become a thing of the past in the next 10 years.
Okay.
If we make the right decision in investing in technology. And this is why. In the next 5-6 years, there will be approving of drone taxis. Drone taxis. What is drone taxi? 5 of us want to travel, or anybody want to travel to Lagos Island from mainland. You call your drone taxi. It lands on a field near you. You have already paid for your transportation. And it takes off and drops you where you're going. It will continue to improve to the point that it will drop you off at your window in the future. So you don't even need to pass through the front of their house. So everybody will have a drone pad on their window. This is the future. When you are building your house, you just have a drone pad there. It drops you. You go and drop your neighbor, and this will be perfect. It will not be having accidents.
Is it going to be done virtually or physically?
It's going to be physical. It's going to be physical because who would believe that 30 years ago that you can ride a train without a pilot? And we're heading towards riding airplanes without a pilot. Because that's what drones are practical. Drones are smaller airplanes or aircraft that has no pilot. So in the next 20, I don't think we won't get to that point. You go to international airport here and get on a plane and there's no pilot. You only have flight attendants. Probably some will not even have flight attendants. You just press T and you pour the tea. You say I need food. It will, it'll bring the food to you. That's why technology is so important. It's going to be the life of the future. And it will be driven by artificial intelligence. And what is artificial intelligence? If I can tell a drone where I'm going, it drops me exactly there. That's the intelligence that is in there. It doesn't require me to be telling the drone, no, I want to drop at Oshodi, please drop here. No. It will take you to where you are. If you want to go back to Oshodi, you have to order another drone. It eliminates traffic jams completely. But if you don't start making the investment now, you are going to get somebody, you are going to have to buy it from somebody or move to a country that has it. I'm sure there are countries who have all these things already. It's the same thing with housing. Do you know about 3D technology? You draw out a house and then there is a plant that comes in to build a house without a bricklayer. Maybe the only thing the bricklayer will do is to help you mix the concrete. And the house will be produced in a matter of hours, not even days. So that's where the world is going. We must make the investment. The cost of building another oil company or a refinery in the Niger Delta region or wherever, or in Bauchi, is less than the cost of putting an infrastructure for internet in place that can power the whole of the northern part of Nigeria. All
right, I will have to interrupt you there. And when we come back, I have follow-up questions to some of these. But we'll go on a quick break to get the message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still with us. In case you're just tuning in, this is Real Talk with Kike, where I've been having candid conversations, yes, about the issues that matters to you and I, that matters to us the most. And of course, on today's show, we are talking about the topic that is at the forefront of everyone's mind as the general election, approaches. Of course, the credibility, the integrity of the presidential candidate has been one of the major highlights on this platform, apart from we talking about investment, because we need revenue to actually, take on all the challenges that we have on right now. And of course, I have Mr. Omoyele Sowore, who have been throwing a lot of light on this. And let me quickly use this opportunity to open my phone lines. Remember, you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 0809887 77400 is showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and of course on Silverbird platform. Many thanks for all your submission thus far. It's very eye-opening, and I can't help but agree with you that we need fresh candidates emerging to actually take us to another level. And as a political activist, with all that you have shared thus far, many may see you as an embankment that's the word I'm looking for, to presidency as a right of vengeance, against the current or the past government. You two have said how you have, challenged them or lend your voice. I would like to use that word, lend your voice, because, we need people who can lend their voices, in terms of what our president or people who put in the corridor of power, how they can be held accountable for all the things that they are doing. I must say many thanks for all of that you've been doing in the past until date. So many are yet to, would I say, align with your candidacy, just as much as the ruling parties as well. On this live show, I would like you to please tell Nigerians, the degree of transformation. I like the fact that you had to break through the drone taxes and the likes, which comes to me as you schooling me as well. I've learned something from that as well, and it's something that I'm going to be taking further outside this platform. So help us, tell Nigerians the degree of transformation you can bring to this country, rather than the perception of a candidate who is out there to take revenge. People see it from that angle as well, for the suffering you've went through during the political activity, for the suffering of others as well, because you've lent your voice to for other people. How do you move forward from this?
I'm not stuck in whatever happened to me. I'm more interested in a different kind of vengeance. I have vengeance against poverty that must be waged. Vengeance against our institutional lethargy that don't respond to progress the way it should. So I won't deny entirely that I don't have any intention of revenge. We must revenge in a way that transforms our society. My kind of revenge is more of disruptive, transformational leadership, not the kind of revenge that will put people in jail. I've been in jail long enough to know that we don't need more people in jail. We don't have enough space to put people in prison. Are you getting my point? And part of what we should reform is also the prison system, so that they become transformational, as opposed to being a process of revenge and vengeance from society against individuals. Because sometimes some of the crimes that we're punishing people for are crimes of passion. As people say, or crimes that's related with poverty, hunger, starvation. There are people who are spending 20 years in prison for stealing chicken. And there was, and
we have our leaders who are stealing in billions, in dollars.
The guy who was sent to prison in Osun State for stealing the governor's cell phone, and the governor doesn't steal cell phones; he steals cell phone companies. So you can imagine that these are things that must all be reformed. So I would be very clear, but my interest is transformational leadership that is driven by disruption. That everything that is difficult now, we break it down and ensure that they don't take so long to do. I don't want a situation where you want to register a company and you have to go to Abuja at the CAC. You should do it online. You want to vote from your house. You want to send your children to school, do it virtually. If you can't send them to school directly. I want to break down the classroom system. I want to bring a future of technology and healthcare to telemedicine. If you can't go to hospital.
I like all that you've said, and I think my takeaway is taking forever. We don't have to do things to take forever. And this drives me to my next question, because you said removal of fuel subsidy, will make life hard for Nigerians.
Absolutely.
And as against the counter argument of many experts who believe that, thinking that the controversial subsidy should be removed once and for all or not. Some people are thinking that, okay, it shouldn't, but what's your own argument for holding on to fuel subsidy on national accounts, in terms of accountability? Every year is like we are in tune with about 4 trillion naira as at today, in terms of anticipation in the budget that was put out there. How can we resolve this issue of fuel subsidy once and for all without really prolonging it, just like you said in one of your submissions?
So what people don't like to hear is that there's no subsidy. Mine is to tell the truth. And like I usually say, or somebody said, let the truth kill the corrupt people. So the truth is that if you remove the subsidy as it is now, as they claim it is, you have to subsidize the poor somehow. So you remove one subsidy, you open a room for new subsidies. Because if you remove fuel subsidy, then you have to engage in transportation subsidy. You have to subsidize. There's no society in the world that leaves its poor at the mercy of market forces. It's not possible. So instead of you leaving the room for new subsidies, why don't you resolve the subsidy issue with regards to petrol at once? You have 4 refineries. Fix all of them. Because why? You cannot tell me that you want to put $2.7 billion in a refinery built by one man, but you cannot use that money to fix your own 4 refineries. Repair your refineries, have enough fuel supply at home, because each time you distill crude oil, you get 6,000 products, depending on the sophistication of the machine that is carrying out the distillation. 6,000 products, including your Vaseline, your shoe, lace, everything, almost everything comes from crude. So if you can do that, why are you subsidizing just one product? Because we're only subsidizing one product. And the argument for removal of subsidy has been the same since I was in the university. Let's take this money out from the poor and use it, the cash, free up the cash to do other things for the poor. You get my point?
I get you.
And when you now take the cash out, you now multiply the number of thieves that have come out. It's just like the currency denomination or redenomination, no, not redesign they did, right? After pouring dye on the 1,000 naira, you now said it's not available. After you said, well, we are going to make new notes, and you create new note sellers. So if you go to the market now, you can buy the new notes, but for every 100,000 naira you buy, you have to pay 30,000 naira.
All right.
Would not have been better for us to have just left the 1,000 naira in its original color so that it doesn't stain our whites?
I think this talk of subsidies, another conversation that can never end.
I'm using
but
analogy,
quickly, because I know that we are running out of time, and my technical director will start running commentary in my ears very soon. But I really want to touch on this, and I think it's about the other political party when it comes to Rotimi Amechi, when it comes to the sitting president Oshibajo as well, the vice president, and of course others who have also met Tinubu along the way. We've seen it on socials, the G5 governors, let me touch on that, in Nigeria, are scheming. Wike and his group are scheming their plans in favor of Asiwaju, so to speak, allegedly, and obviously it's against PDP with all that is happening. How do you think that this will play out, in the election in terms of numbers, that will be swing into the parties that they are working for? And of course, how does it affect the emerging party like yours, that have just started in 2018? I stand to be corrected. Can you quickly throw light on this?
They are not scheming anything. This is how politicians behave. They throw some kind of artificial confusion in the minds of people while you're there celebrating it. Oh, maybe this will give us an edge. You forget to do your own work. And one day you wake up and they have all agreed again. It's likely that the G5 are looking for something. They get it, they go back to PDP. Or part of them go to APC. Is
that how you see this? Because
yes,
it's a dirty game that they've been playing.
It is a dirty game. That's why decent people don't like to play. And the reason why we are not part of them, we don't want to join them. Because if you look at 2014, it's the same way they played it. Rotimi Amechi, Bukola Saraki, and a bunch of them came together, pulled out of the PDP. And the PDP was trying to reconcile them until they went into the APC and they hijacked power. Again. It is how these guys take power. They know where to pitch their tents. They're watching the minds of the public. They're looking at
talking about watching about the minds of the people, I think I want to come from an angle of women now, because we saw the Senator Binani, amongst the few aspirants in terms of female governors right now. I would like to ask you, what's your take about a female emerging as a governor in the states, even if the Nigerian predecessors are not even thinking that it might happen? I want to talk from the female angle in terms of inclusion. Women have been yelling, shouting, talking about the inclusion of them being on the table. What do you have to say to this?
My position is a little extreme, right? Women should stop asking for their rights. They have the numbers now. Look at the INEC numbers. 51% of voters, registered voters, are women. Question I have for women: when are you going to become president? When you have the biggest number of voters, and you are the ones who are likely to be at the rally first. When men are done, you are the ones cleaning up after them at the rallies. They use you as a signboard by wearing clothes on you to advertise the parties. Women must come together, and I mean it seriously, and start also organizing for power. Let's wake up one day and discover that not one governor, but all the governors and the president of Nigeria is a woman. Then because
Can you hear that?
Yes, yeah,
Can you hear that?
men have messed up this country for so long. It's time for women to take leadership.
All right, many thanks for that. Many thanks for. I think this might be my last question to you, and it's important for me to ask you, knowing that you're an activist, you know, and I have heard you, you know, constantly talk about peaceful protest and all of that. 2 of Yoruba Nation agitation were killed, you know, in the recent rally that took place by the policemen, according to the reports I read, you know, because I have to always put a caveat to it, you know. And the fact that we have series of all of these disturbing reports of police killing innocent Nigerians again. So the question for you right now, my first question is, how will you be resolving ethnic agitations, you know, like Yoruba Nation, like IPOB, if elected into power? And my second question to you is the fact that what step-to-step procedure, you know, or reform would you like to, you know, engage people on in terms of the end of police killing innocent citizens? When I talk like this, people say, oh, because you're a daughter of a police, I say, no, I keep it real on the platform. I will appreciate if you can throw light on this in 1 minute.
By the way, I should say to you, this is a public revelation. Your dad was a police officer who once handled my case, but we'll discuss that at another time. But he was a fine police officer.
Thank you.
Lekano. But I know all the agitators in this country. I know why they're agitating for, and mostly all of them are about justice. And I was the first probably to condemn the killing of the Yoruba Nation agitators, yes, because Nigeria keeps getting it wrong. You cannot just open fire on peaceful protesters. You must have a way to diffuse ethnic related or nationhood agitation for nationhood. One, it's a fundamental right for people to say, well, we're tired of this marriage, we want out of it. And when you want to address that, it's not an AK-47 issue. It's not going to solve it. We have told them about IPOB. They kept making them look at the Southeast now. They may not even be able to vote in the Southeast in the next election because they bungled the opportunity to have had, you know, dialogue to resolve it. So the second thing about the police reform we needed. First, I'm going to take away from our police assault rifles and weapons in our cities or in public places. I think that happiness to kill has become a police disease. So the way to do it is for them to learn forcefully how to diffuse peaceful protests using baton, tear gas. Even tear gas sometimes is extreme, you know, and all those things that other countries. There was a riot in Brazil 3 days, the same day, where they invaded the presidential palace, the Supreme Court. No single person has been killed so far. But in Nigeria, nobody even knew about the protest. Before you knew it, there are dead bodies all over the place. The police must be told that citizens should not be used for target practice.
You've heard it all from our guests today, Omoyele Sowore. Many thanks again for being on the platform today. It's been an interesting time with you, I must emphasize. Many thanks for all your submission and showing light on what affects you and I the most. But, you know, before I let you go, you know, there's this last segment of the show where I call trending stories. Stories that binds you and I as Nigerians. And only trending story that caught my attention, that interested me, or that interests me, English, is the fact that, you know, the Minister for Petroleum said it would be okay in terms of buying petrol at 300 per litre. You know, what's your take on this, Omoyele, quickly? I'm sorry, I cannot take a call right now. Please, can you please end the call?
It's the reason I told you that they're not subsidizing petrol. So, look, there are several products, but the dominant ones are kerosene, diesel, jet A1. They are not subsidizing them. And if you're subsidizing, you won't just leave the market force. Because what they are saying is that if the market forces takes petrol to 1,000 naira per litre, what do? The public should deal with it. That's what they are telling you gradually. And already they've been selling petrol for 300 naira, even for depending on your geopolitical location in Nigeria. That's been on for almost 2 years.
Fantastic. Many thanks for that. You know, for me, you know, I read this news and instantly I felt sorry for myself and for Nigerians. Sometimes, you know, I've said it constantly on this platform. I don't know why I'm still back here in Nigeria, even though I have opportunity to carry my, you know, and I have citizenship that I can actually go and start over all over again and the likes. I don't know how we got ourselves here, and it's very disappointing to know that we lack, or will I say suffer for what we don't have that our leaders do not have the empathy of the citizen in mind. You know, despite the fact that we have remained abundance in this oil sector, but first and foremost, the price is unbearable for Nigerians. I must emphasize.
Absolutely.
I see what people go through every day on the streets and them commuting from one place to the other. And I'm asking myself, I know the impact and implication of this when it comes to production and organization as well, knowing that, you know, one way or the other, as an entrepreneur, you understand all the intricacies. And however, I feel that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, you know, saying that it will be okay as a private citizen, so to speak, private citizen to be okay as for him to buy a liter of petrol for 300 naira, you know, and he felt that there was no issue with it. It's very disheartening for me. I want people to believe that, or to understand that the people that we put in the corridor of power are the ones that are actually coming to sabotage us. So it is important for us to understand that we need new hands to emerge to come and lead us. And I'm not advocating for anybody, and that's the honest truth. I feel that, you know, Nigerians should be tired by now in terms of all the people who are leading us that are causing us pain. You know, our unborn children will come back to come and be paying debt of something that they did not even work for. So it's unfortunate. So I understand all the politics and the embezzlement around the subsidy funds, which has been the controversy for the oil sector for years, even with all the analysis that our guests Omoyele Sowore have given to us. I believe that quite a number of people should take a cue from it if truly you're an intelligent person. Yes, though more experts have also argued that it is better for us to remove the subsidy once and for all, to see the clear picture of things and allow for market dynamics to dictate, so to speak, the price. However, is this speaking from an insensitive angle is where I'm coming from. As a minister, you expect him to act better when it comes to emotional intelligence in terms of your delivery of words. But that's another story entirely. So people might say, oh, Kike, you're coming from a background of training. But I just feel that right now, it's all in our hands, you know, how we want to look for, will I say, people that will put in the corridor of power that will be accountable to us in terms of cost-benefit ratio, which was one of the things that I picked from one of your submissions as well when it comes to we citizens. And I just feel that implementation is better when it comes to transparency, gradually easing the effect of subsidy, you know, removal on Nigeria is another thing. But quickly, guys, before I sign off today, before I sign off today, I hope I still have time. You know, it's important that I share with you this book in my hands. Wow. Yes, this book in my hand. This is one of my books that I authored, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. This is my second book. Wow. And no gainsaying, it's, you know, would I say beneficial book that has been, you know, reviewed by many authors, yes, and a number of respected writers as well. However, I just want to use this opportunity to say many thanks to my Obi Ruby, you know, for also taking time to review my work, you know, in terms of compilation of my book, you know, my work as well. It has, you know, it's an everyday quote, you know, coming from a personal life experience. You know, I'm not preaching to anybody's, you know, in terms of my relation, in terms of the Nigerian society, in terms of the public outlook on certain, will I say, certain occurrences and many other things. You know, I'm just using this opportunity to say thank you, and using this medium to say thank you for all those who have also bought this book on Amazon, you know, to my adopted mother, Bola Adeshola, you know, to Mrs. Shade, to Yusuf, to Kayode, many more, you know, many people, you know, just to mention but a few, you know, have ordered and have given their strong positions, opinions about it. It's a must-have in offices, I must emphasize. It's a must-have in offices, in homes as well, and also in the car. You know, it's a book you can relate with, you know, while sipping your cup of coffee in the office and all of that. So it's already available online stores like Amazon, on Okada. The links are also in my bio on Instagram, on Real Talk with Kike page. So I want to plead with people, please go get your copy. Tag me on Real Talk with Kike. But, you know, that's all for now. Many thanks to all of those who have contributed to the success of this book. Again, to my how will I put it down? You know, my thought-provoking guest. You know, this session has been very eye-opening. I just want to say, may God give you the strength to continue to navigate the kind of leaders that we are dealing with right now, and also give you the, you know, courage to move on. Because sometimes when you look at the challenges we are facing, you know, it's very demoralizing to actually say, can I actually go on? But I say many thanks for creating time to be here. This is Omoyele Sowore, the presidential candidate of African Action Congress.
Yes.
You know, many
AAC.
thanks, many thanks. Yeah, many
Thank you
thanks
very
again.
much
Thank
for
you so
bringing
much for
me.
being here. And till I come your way on Thursday, remember to catch me on Inspiration FM 92.3 tomorrow. And I would like to end by saying, Revolution now!
Yeah. And you won't get into trouble for that.
Thank you.
Promise.
Thank you, guys. Bye now.